How far will the most corrupt president in history go to keep Republicans from winning back the White House? Meet the cast of unscrupulous accomplices he's assembled to get Trump. Alvin Bragg, the radical liberal New York prosecutor who refuses to prosecute violent criminals. Jack Smith, who's made a career persecuting innocent Republican officials. Letitia James, the socialist who ran on the promise, "I'll go after Trump." And Biden's newest lackey, Atlanta DA Fani Willis. So incompetent, on her watch violent crimes have exploded. So tainted, Willis was thrown off one case for trying to prosecute a political opponent. So corrupt, Willis got caught hiding a relationship with a gang member she was prosecuting. So dishonest, Willis was accused of creating a fake subpoena.
A few moments later.
Racist, sexist, and perversely pornographic attack yesterday on Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Donald Trump has now put some of that lying attack language in a television ad that he intends to run for several days in Atlanta. District Attorney Fani Willis sent an email about the attacks on her to her staff today saying, "It is my understanding that an ad was put in the Atlanta market to run between today and August 13th.
We've gotten a lot of comments. Interestingly enough, the comments are always racist. And it's really just a waste of time and foolishness. It's not going to stop me from doing my job. And I don't think that it's an insult to remind me that I'm a black woman.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about the Trump Georgia indictment once again, as the media is trying to cover up what obviously is a rigged process. Okay, the process of indicting Trump, we all know, was a process that is coming from the deep state. Okay, I mean, it seems that every single time something comes out about Biden, there's always some news about a new Trump prosecution or some type of bad legal news for Trump that distracts from what we actually should be paying attention to, which is the Biden crime family.
This week, and on the same day that another big story was breaking about the Hunter Biden probe, raising quite a few eyebrows about the timing of all of this. So let's break down the timeline of Trump's indictments versus the key developments in the Hunter saga. So let's start in New York City this March. Look at this: Biden family and the laptop revelations versus Trump's indictments. So this is the first indictment. March 16th, the House Oversight Committee reveals that Biden family payments from this Chinese energy company. Well, look at this. 2 days later, Trump says he's going to be indicted in New York. He wrote that on social media. Then April 4th, the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, indicts Trump in that hush money case. This is right after we find out about all this money from the energy company. Okay, so that is New York City. Let's go to Florida. This is in June. The bribery allegations and the plea deals versus Trump's second indictment. So these are the classified documents, Mar-a-Lago stuff. So on June 7th, the FBI releases the documents alleging that the Bidens took the $10 million bribe from Burisma. Remember, the owner of Burisma caught in the coffee shop saying $5 million for one Biden, $5 million for another. Then the very next day, look at this, Jack Smith indicts Trump in the Mar-a-Lago document case. Then on July 26th, that's the Hunter Biden sweetheart deal that's rejected. The very next day, July 27th, Jack Smith adds more charges in the Mar-a-Lago case. Let's slap some more charges to that. All right, so then in July, let's go to D.C. Devin Archer interview versus Trump's third indictment. So this was the January 6th stuff. July 31st, Devin Archer testifies that Joe Biden was on 20-plus phone calls with his son's business partners. The very next day, Jack Smith indicts Trump for the January 6th case. Coincidence? We don't know. You decide. All right, now let's go to Georgia. This happened recently, the last few days. FBI agent transcript versus Trump's fourth indictment. So in the morning, on August 14th, GOP releases the transcripts from this FBI agent involved in the Hunter Biden investigation. And it happens to coincide with what the whistleblower was saying, that someone tipped off, the Secret Service tipped off Hunter Biden. He was never interviewed. So their stories are very similar. So then on August 14th, that same day, later in the afternoon or that night and that evening, Fulton County DA Fani Willis charges Trump and 18 others in the Georgia 2020 election probe. You have the facts. You make up your mind, your decision. Is this
Yeah, so coincidence? I think not, right? I think that this process clearly is rigged on multiple levels, okay? And they're trying to essentially drive the media news cycle to always focus on Trump and to never focus on Biden. What's also happens to be a coincidence, or at least this is what they're telling us, is the fact that the charges for Trump's indictment were, so it seems, filed earlier than the grand jury could actually finish deliberating on what they were actually charging Trump with, or if they were actually going to indict him at all. And there's been a lot of scrutiny in regards to how in the world does that happen, okay? How do you accidentally post a document to the Fulton County website in which you are basically stating that, hey, these are the charges that Trump is going to be charged with, without the grand jury finishing deliberating on exactly what charges they're going to bring against Trump, if any, which, you know, again, in my opinion, is more evidence of a rigged process. Now, the person that is responsible for this happening, the Fulton County Clerk, Chi Alexander, came out and she's talking about these leaked charges against Trump before the grand jury voted to indict him. She's claiming that she accidentally clicked send instead of save, that this was all an accident, okay? She accidentally knew, or somebody accidentally knew, everything that Trump was going to be charged with. Again, because the document is basically a carbon copy of the real document, or the official document that eventually later came out. So without further ado, let's listen to their explanation for them rigging the process.
And Linda, Shea Alexander says she was under a lot of pressure to make sure this process went smoothly. There were no hiccups. She says in trying to be perfect, she made a mistake, and instead of hitting save, she hit send.
I am human.
Fulton County Clerk of Court Shea Alexander says even though she's human, she strives for perfection.
And that's how the mishap happened.
The mishap was she inadvertently posted the indictment charges against former President Donald Trump, even though the grand jury was still deliberating Monday. That set off a media firestorm and had Trump's attorneys saying prosecutors had no respect for the grand jury process.
No, I mean, they already knew that was going to happen, right? They already knew what was going to happen, okay? They already knew that they were going to bring charges against Trump, and they already knew the exact charges. Everything was going to basically be the way that it was in that original document, and we know that it doesn't matter what the grand jury came up with, that's what it was going to be. Again, in my opinion, I think it goes deeper than that. I don't even think that the grand jury process even matter at all, okay? I don't think it matter what they came back with. I think they were going to charge Trump regardless. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I mean, if you don't believe me, just look at the person that is the leader of the grand jury down there in Georgia.
It's not a short list.
So we're talking about more than a dozen people?
I would say that, yes.
Are these recognizable names that people would know?
There are certainly names that you would recognize, yes.
She would not say whether that includes the former president, but did say this.
I don't think that there are any giant plot twists coming. I don't think that there are any, giant, that's not the way I expected this to go at all. I don't think that's in store for anyone.
The group wrote a 9-page report, only part of which has been made public. Now the DA must decide who, if anyone, should be indicted.
Yeah. So again, when that interview came out, I think everybody should have expected for this to go the way it's going, okay? Clearly, they had NPCs that were a part of that grand jury. So that's why they went ahead and already had a document furnished. It was all good. It didn't matter what they said. They already knew what was going to be said. They already knew the charges. They already knew all that stuff, okay? And this person published it prematurely because, again, the whole process was rigged. It was a sham from the very, very beginning, okay? Everybody knows that. And they're trying to save face and say, oh, it was a mistake and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a mistake. If it was a mistake, you should be fired, right? You should be fired, okay? There are people who make mistakes like that on their jobs, like big mistakes like that, and they're fired, okay? Maybe you should be fired.
Alexander said this had nothing to do with the DA's office and there was nothing sinister about the mistake she made.
I have no dog in the fight.
She says in an effort to handle the indictment perfectly, she messed up.
Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I'm trying to be a perfectionist. Yeah, and she also I have no dog in this fight. Okay, statistically speaking, let's keep it 100. She's a black woman out in Atlanta, Georgia, right? What is the chance that she voted for Joe Biden, okay, and that she is a anti-Trumper? She has severe Trump derangement syndrome. What is the chances that she has that, right? It's like 95+%, okay, 95%. Okay, so when you say you have no dog in this fight, I'm not buying that at all.
I did a work sample in the system, and when I hit save, it went to the press queue.
Some news reporters saw it before it was deleted. Alexander says what they saw was unofficial.
It wasn't an official document. It wasn't official charges. It was the dry run. It was a work sample.
Even though it had a case number, Alexander says it didn't have a stamp and other markings that would have made it official. I asked her why did she release a statement calling the document fictitious.
That was the best word I could come up with. It was fictitious. It wasn't real. It didn't have a stamp on it.
No, it was real, right? It just, again, didn't have the stamp on it to make it official. But it was, fictitious is not the word I would use in a situation like that. Consider how allegedly it's a carbon copy of the actual official document. And so it ain't fictitious. It's real. It's just not official. Unofficial is probably a better term. But see, you have to call it fictitious because saying that it's unofficial, again, supports the idea that, yeah, this was rigged, right? That this was a sham from the get-go.
Why didn't you just say it was an error?
She says fictitious was what her team came up with.
We've been getting some calls.
Her office has received calls and emails with threats. People saying, I'm coming to get you. Those threats have been forwarded to the sheriff's office. Alexander says she was under a lot of pressure to get this right. Now she says she just wants to explain what happened and get back to work.
I tell my staff we just want to be transparent, right? And so I don't have anything to hide.
And Alexander says her mistake had no impact on the grand jury's decision. I asked her, how did she get her hands on those charges? She says she has access to that information as clerk of court. She says her office is taking those threats very seriously. We're live in downtown.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Again, in my opinion, clearly a scam, okay? Clearly a sham process, clearly rigged. But, you know, hey, in the meantime, that doesn't stop the mainstream liberal media from crying racism because of the things that Trump is saying to these Georgia prosecutors in response to, again, this clearly rigged process, what is a political witch hunt. And you guys shouldn't be surprised that the mainstream liberal media is crying racism over Trump's attacks, right? Because he called the prosecutor riggers, right? So calling prosecutors, calling, Biden, called them riggers, apparently is an allusion to the N-word, according to the mainstream liberal media, okay? And they're saying that, well, that he's actually trying to call them the N-word, and that's racist, right? Again, you can't make this stuff up, right? Any attack that Trump levies against people that are going after him means that it comes from a place of racism. When the dude is attacking Jack Smith, who's white, right? And, you know, apparently that doesn't have anything to do with racism. But any attacks that he levies against a black woman is racist. Again, it's just absolutely amazing, right? It really is. How these people make up stuff against Trump. I always want to call the man racist. And it's almost like Trump can't attack them, but they can attack Trump, with anything. They can call him anything, right? Call him anything. So, yeah, like I said, man, I think that it is clear and obvious that this process, okay, the process of indicting Trump, what is happening at all levels, clearly it's a scam. It's clearly coordinated, and this is a political hit job against Trump, and it's only making him stronger, man. Only thing they're doing is giving this man a boost in the polls. It's way too many coincidences to say that, oh, well, this is all by happen chance. It's not. This is an effort to try to affect the outcome of the 2024 election, to drain Trump of his campaign funds, to try to make it harder for the man to support by throwing him in jail. That's what's happening here. But my gut feeling is that it's going to backfire, right? It's going to backfire because they're making it way too damn obvious what's actually going on. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.